Alright, so Shalom Israel. We just seen, as you can see, Avengers, and we just gonna go over some key things that I thought stood out in the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, I advise you to go see the movie first. So these are some of the key points. This point that it says Thanos was said to have opened a portal and walked through, and we don't know where he is now. That's what the Avengers was saying. Now that automatically goes to the scriptures. That made me think of Job chapter 1, verse 6 through 7. So I'll read it one more time. It says, Thanos was said to have opened a portal and walked through, and we don't know where he is now. Job chapter 1, verse 6, it says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also among them, came also among them. Verse 7, and the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and walking up and down in it. Now, he's basically traveling. He's basically going between dimensions, portals, and they don't know where he is. And that's the key thing that was just said by the Most High. Even though he knows all, he's omnipotent, omnipresent. But that's the obviously the movie pulled from the scriptures, and they can twist things. So it's not to make the scriptures sound off, but obviously showing the correlation between the movie and the scriptures. So it says, and the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Like, where were you? And then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So that sounds like time travel. Next point, it says Thanos talked a lot about his great plan configuring his daughter. Thanos has a retirement plan. So that part was when I think her name is Nebula, his other daughter. Yeah, Nebula. Nebula was his other daughter. If you're familiar with the Infinity Wars, you should know who I'm talking about. The one he was working on, she was like hung up, he was torturing her. When his daughter Gamora asked him to stop torturing her, that's Nebula. And it says that, she said that Thanos talked a lot about his great plan configuring his daughter. Now I had a dream about Infinity Wars that basically broke, I don't know if it was myself talking to myself or someone telling me to basically break down the Infinity Wars. Thanos, he actually represents Esau. And it basically represents the spirit of Esau, and it basically represents his mindset and how relentless and ruthless he is. He ended up getting all 6 stones, coming into his power, like he kept saying throughout the movie, his destiny was. Esau has got to get to the climax of his power, and as you can see, if you're alive watching this video and you're woke, you know what's going on. Esau's at the climax of his power right now. And he's basically on the decline. That's basically what's going on right now. So that was a breakdown on it. And if the other parts that the dream presented to me as far as like what the Infinity Wars is about, I'll mention it when the Spirit bring it up. So it says Thanos, so giving you understanding of where I was writing my points from. Thanos talked a lot about his great plan. What's his great plan? The great plan, if we don't talk about Thanos, understand that Thanos to basically represent Esau, his mind state, his spirit, is pretty much saying the great plan of Esau is to get everybody under his one world rulership. That's the other point the dream broke down. All those, basically, in Infinity Wars, to show you how Thanos has a set out agenda to get the world to conform how he sees fit best under that one world rulership. How is it one world rulership? Because Thanos is one person, that's one mind. So that's a one world rulership if he can get everybody to conform to his will. So that also going to the scriptures, which is in the Apocrypha, back during the times of the Maccabees or whatever. So that's that. And then someone else has said in that mention that Thanos has a retirement plan. So the retirement plan being what for Esau? Obviously the movie is Thanos, but understand it to be Esau. Retirement plan being something like, obviously we know they're not planning to just go down and go out. Esau got a retirement plan. What it could be, maybe the Spirit will reveal it, maybe some brothers will break it down. You know, maybe something the Most High allow that to be revealed. That even though it don't matter, because scriptures have it, the Most High have it, prophecy have it. Esau, he's gonna go down, and that's it. There's no coming back. He will be eradicated from the face of the earth, according to Obadiah chapter 1 verse 10. That's it. That's it that's the only nation that will be wrote off completely forever. All right, next point. Thanos gets jumped and killed. At that, not only killed but beheaded. America. Now, I just did the first prophecy video for Out the Belly of the Beast. It goes into how America will be jumped by all the other nations, which you can find in Jeremiah 50 and 51. When the Most High, paraphrasing, that the Most High was telling the nations to rise up against ancient Babylon and shoot your bows at her. So he's stirring up the spirit of, back then he stirred up the spirits of all the nations to help bring down Babylon, which you see is no longer standing. And the same thing is going to happen to this Babylon. Because they tell you in Ecclesiastes, the thing which has been is the thing which shall be. All right, so we'll move on. And Thanos, obviously, if he represents America, if he represents, I already said it, but if he represents Esau, he represents America. So it's showing you in the beginning of the movie when Thanos gets killed, he gets jumped. That's what the video is about. They jumped him and killed him and beheaded him, and that was it. Only reason the movie went on to be about Thanos again is because they went back in time. So moving on to the next point. Control chaos. Something they mentioned. So the elites like playing with control chaos. How do we know this? Because it tell you in the scriptures, I believe it's Isaiah that the Most High said, before a thing, I tell you of it before it basically is done, roughly paraphrasing. So that's why we here at the movie theater, is to get understanding on what, even though the scriptures tell us, he allows it to come to life in certain aspects and get witnessed while we're here on the earth today by the movies and the films and the directors who also have to know the Bible from start to finish to make these movies. That's where they get all these ideas from, period. Now, he gets jumped and he gets killed, he gets beheaded. Okay, I'm off that part, so it's a lot. It says control chaos. So they want to control chaos. Next point was quantum realm is different. So the quantum realm is something I'm actually going to do more research on as far as it being a realm, but quantum physics is talking about the internet. So-called black man discovered the internet. Well, he didn't discover the internet, Salakia, but he invented the internet, basically. He's accredited for the coming up with it through quantum physics, which is the interconnection of things, nesting, as Ox said, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna do some research on that quantum realm. You should probably do some too. There's a thing they mentioned. It says enter, and then they said enter to effect and leave right before the doom. So they wanted to be able to enter in through using this quantum physics understanding, and they wanted to hurry up and leave right before doom. Doom being Thanos. When you see the movie, you'll get what I'm talking about. Or if you've seen it, you should know what I'm talking about. So that's exactly how Esau thinks. They're gonna control chaos. Basically, they're gonna decide the chaos that goes on. They're gonna create it. They're gonna influence it. They're gonna pause it when they want to. You know what I'm saying? As far as the Most High allows them. And they obviously got certain type of, I don't know, like, what you gonna call it? Them entering into a different realm. What would you call that? Them entering into a different realm.
Contingency.
Meaning what?
To continue they
No, I'm saying as far as like the stuff they got going on, basically. Like they controlling chaos, that's one aspect. And then they talking about entering in through a quantum realm. Like basically how they be playing with the ozone and stuff like that, traveling to outer space. Like what would be a word for that? But that's pretty much what I'm saying. That right there.
Endeavors.
Yeah, like certain endeavors or whatever they get into. Esau's just a damn meddling ass. He just like Scooby-Doo. It show you, he gives you his personality in so many movies and cartoons. I mean, it's hard to not. He's just a meddler. You know what I'm saying? He gets into all type of things and got all types of tricks to the trades. Like I said in Genesis 25, you see, very cunning. All right, so they're gonna do all these things, have all these things they play with, bend, morph, etc. And then they cause all the damn chaos, and they want to leave right before doom hits, which the scriptures also talk about. The elect, we're gonna be chosen to pull these mugs out of their bunkers, because they have bunkers set up. They're gonna have, which is the underground tunnels, cities and stuff, or whatever. Moving on. It says, next point, time travel, machinery. They want to, so they was dealing with time travel in the movie, and a machine that will allow them to time travel. And I noticed that as being one of their desires, basically. How we know that? Example, I forget which Rockefeller it was, but the Rockefeller that died. This dude had, like, I think, a world record for how many transplants he got. He got his damn, and he died. He had successful, like, 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 max transplants. How do you have that many heart transplants? Like, these ones are crazy, bro. It says, so the Esau wants to time travel when they come up with these machineries, and that's their desire, the time travel. How do I use whichever Rockefeller that is to be an example? Because he's clearly time travel. Like, bro, it's your time to go. So you got not only one heart, this man went and got another heart, and then he went and got a damn another heart, and then he went and got another damn heart, and all these shit's working. Like, every single one. He ain't had no failed heart transplants. You can look it up.
Talk about that line they said about no amount of money.
You said no matter.
He said,
right. I think I got that on there. Yeah, we'll get to that. Exactly. It says, so next point, changing the past doesn't change the future. Anything you want to say on any of the things we said so far?
No.
It says changing the past doesn't change the future. So that's a quote that was said, and that didn't make no damn sense. How does changing the past don't change the future? And then they go on to contradict that in the movie. Because then wasn't that what Captain America was sent to do on that little machine when he was supposed to come back in 5 seconds? But he came back as an old man. He was supposed to come back regular how he left. But he came back old. So he was supposed to come back in that spot too. That's what they were expecting. It was like, where is he at? They was like, where is he at or whatever. And he was sitting across from them on the bench in a different location. So he basically, I think the Hulk said he went like a certain amount of time past his time stamp. So the future did get changed. So that ain't making no damn sense. Next point says, these stones have been in a lot of different places throughout history. So we understand the stones basically represent the children of Israel. And when you look at it, the scriptures, the Israelites been everywhere. We done took on a bunch of different titles, from the Native Americans to the Vikings, because the Vikings are originally black, and the Vikings are people of color, and the Vikings actually go back to the Israelites. When we ruled Europe, but they weren't calling themselves Israelites. King James, William Tinsdale. These are men that was basically responsible for us having the scriptures. Used to have the scriptures. All the rulers of Europe, because we ruled Europe on a very heavy level.
Saint Maurice, Saint Jerome,
all of them. That's just to name a few. And you can actually get into that just by because we got the documents. We got them on us right now, but how something you can just look Black Real Europe. That history wasn't able to be erased. Period. That's how we know these things. Most High set it up like that. Next point, because it's a little nippy out here. It says quantum physics used to travel time. So basically, the whole movie is basically pretty much about like key 3 things. Main one thing is probably quantum physics. Quantum physics, like I said previously, is about the internet. So pretty much there's breaking the internet down, because I think I can mention this. Yeah, at the end of the movie, somehow Captain America is able to yield Thor's sword or his hammer, and everybody knows he's the only person that can yield it. But the whole point of quantum physics is everything is linked together, nesting, to feed off one another or whatever. So they pretty much telling you how the internet work. And then what are they doing? They was using the quantum physics to travel throughout time. So since they was traveling throughout time, like you mentioned in the theory, you was talking about how it was a bunch of internet references made or whatever. One being like back, another being forward,
and
refresh, you know, etc. You can really go deep. You can go into your history on the internet.
Mm-hmm. You can go enter
You
space.
can delete history on the internet.
Enter space. Think about all of it.
Yeah, exactly. Time. You basically time traveling. You can see your dates.
That's all you doing on that.
That's all quantum physics is. So they was basically breaking that down. All right. So the next point, it says Thanos called Avengers wretches. I'm gonna go get a scripture real quick because we ain't pulled too many scriptures. So that goes into this. Thanos called the Avengers wretches. That's Romans chapter 7. No, that's Romans chapter 8, I believe. It says, listen to this. It says, 24. So as I'm looking for this, I'm gonna just say the Avengers basically represent the elect. For those who don't understand it, and I'm gonna basically prove it with this. I forget what script. I went straight to the scripture when we was in the theater. Is one of the scriptures that I think of. I think it was scripture. One second. Bear with me. It says, here we go. Romans 8:23. I don't know if this is the right order, but I mean, either way, it's on point. Romans 8:23. It says, and not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit. So, no, I'm going to read 22 so you can understand it. So it won't sound like I'm putting it in here. It says, for we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together. So on that scripture, it's talking about the whole body of Israel. All our people were suffering, going together. We're struggling, we're travailing, we're groaning together. And 23, it says, and not only they, because this is Paul talking about how he understands. This is Paul basically looking at our nation as a whole. It says, and not only they, but ourselves also. He's talking from being on the side of teaching and walking with Yahweh Shah, or not walking with Yahweh Shah, but actually really outright dealing with him one-on-one. It says, and not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit. What is the first fruit of the Spirit basically talking about? It was the first one that received the Spirit that had a power, which is what the movie get into, spiritual power and all that, and which is how they was casting out devils and healing people and stuff like that. So in other words, he was calling themselves the elect. That's what you understand that to be. Having the first fruits of the Spirit mean you the elect, because only a certain group of people can have something on a high level before everybody else. In this instance, they was elected to get that. So finishing off, even we ourselves grown within ourselves, waiting for the adoption to wit the redemption of our body. Now this is the other one. So that proves that the Avengers mean elect. Think about it if you don't get it. Romans 7:24. O wretched man. Remember the point is Thanos called Avengers, quote unquote Avengers, wretches. It says, Romans 7 verse 24. O wretched, literally same word. O wretched man that I am. So Paul understood himself. He just told you he received the first fruits of the Spirit. So he said he elect. So in having the first fruits of the Spirit allow you to have spiritual power and form and stuff like this. So Paul said he's one of them. So in correlation sense, Paul will be considered a avenger. And Thanos called them wretches. Let's see if they pull from the scriptures. Romans 7:24. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? So that just proves it right there. They know these scriptures, man. Next point. Nebula is told she is going to break in the temple of the Power Stone. Nebula is told she is going to break in temple of the Power Stone. So Nebula is Thanos' other daughter, and she was told by, I don't know who the hell Don Cheadle is in the movie, but I'm gonna say Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle told her that she was about to she was gonna have to break into the temple of the Power Stone. What is the temple? The temple of the Most High. I tell you in the scriptures, the Most High is power. He the power. So, thus going back, they talking about the temple of the Power Stone. What only temple exists? The only temple that's relevant and exists is the temple of the Most High, the temple of God. You could pull that in the scriptures, literally. I'll pull it, but it'll be more time. So I'm giving you the references. Well, not in this instance exactly, but temple being the Temple of Solomon, which is dedicated to the Most High, which is the only place he ever put his name, besides us being the temple now, modern day. Even then, but in modern day time. But then it was Solomon's temple. And there they would go to do what? To the power. They were going to the power. So Nebula was told she was going to have to break into the temple of power. Period. Representing the purple stone. Which is a whole nother thing. Next point, got a few more points, and we wrap this up. Time heist. That's something I'm actually going to get into. That was crazy when we looked that up. That time heist job, when we looked up the word heist, it literally said, so if they trying to time heist, you could think of that on two levels. When you actually go look up what heist mean, here, hold this. This is what heist mean. Let me know when you out of time. It says, I think I flipped right to it by the Spirit. Almost. Here we go. No, I went back. I did flip to it. Heist. It's right here on the bottom right page. Let me just find it the right way. Stop trying to half step. Here it is. Heist. To steal, rob. A robbery, burglary. So you could think about heist before. Say I didn't. Just imagine I didn't just read that. If someone say time heist, what way could you take that? You could take time heist to be trying to steal back time, but that still going to prove the definition. But I guess in the theater I was thinking on a more simple level. Then I actually went to look up the actual meaning of heist, even though that's a basic word, so I knew what it meant on a basic level. But seeing what it says, this to steal, a robbery or burglary, well, I did know that, but still, how are you trying to steal time? Exactly, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, heist time. So you could try to be trying to heist time. So time also represents history. You know what I'm saying? Timeline. So if you're stealing time, you're stealing history. You know what I'm saying? And if you're stealing history, you basically buying yourself time. In a sense. Which is gonna go into what you was mentioning about the point I said we went to yet. The no amount of money has ever bought time.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can interact, bro, because you gotta think this is a regular conversation just being recorded. You know what I'm saying? All right. It says, you got something, so you say something too. It says, greater good has outweighed, next point, greater good has outweighed Esau. Own self, greater good has outweighed own self-interest, was another quote that was made when they was at the military base or whatever. It says, greater good has outweighed own self-interest. So I took that, because that was an outright Edomite conversation, so I put greater good has outweighed Esau's own self-interest.
Tony Stark's father said he never let the greater good of overall people outweigh his own.
Right.
Finish what you,
yeah. But then the other dude told him, he said, when they was on the elevator, right?
Right.
Yeah, when they was on the elevator, the other dude told him, he said, greater good has outweighed own self-interest. When they was talking about kids or whatever.
Right, that was Tony Stark's father.
Oh yeah, but that's what he said to him basically. He
Yeah.
told him greater good has outweighed his own self-interest. So he was about whatever the greater good was over his own self-interest. That's what he was saying. So that goes back to the scriptures too. Romans 2, it basically gives you the understanding, because we understand that all of New Testament to be about literally the Israelite Gentile mind, but a Gentile mind was gotten from who? An actual Gentile. So Romans chapter 2 actually explains to you the breakdown of the Gentile mind. It says the Most High, let me go get it real quick. I'm writing Romans. It says, for when Gentiles which have not the law, Romans chapter 2 verse 14, for when the Gentiles, comma, which have not the law, comma, do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves. So we know that's really talking about Gentiles. Like some people, that's why people can read it and be like, oh, that's Gentiles. You know, but I mean, an Israelite outside of his natural God-given heritage is literally looked at worse than a Gentile according to the scriptures. So that's that, but that's a whole nother conversation. So it says when they basically when they do the things, they're not held to nothing. In other words, is what that's saying. And when they do something that's found in the law, it's just because they did it, you know. But the scripture actually gonna go on to break it down. It says 15. Which shew, he said, and then with them not having the law, they're law unto themselves. So they do what they want. Which shew the work of the law written in their hearts, meaning their minds, their conscience, see, also bearing witness, and their thoughts, the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. So really think about that. So it says, which shew the work of the law written in their minds. So they automatically, since they weren't given the law, the Most High still gave them some type of level of conscience to where they wouldn't be out here just outright savages. I mean, they outright savages, but it could be worse, in other words. So it says, reason why they do that is because their conscience bear witness. And their thoughts, but at the same time, their thoughts, the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. So they'll think, he'll come up to you, Pop, be like, I can't stand this fucker. He's just some nigga or whatever. And he basically got the thought, he know it ain't right to just kill you for no reason. But he might kill this person. Let's say, I ain't gonna use the example on you. Let's say this nigga. He know it ain't right to just kill this person for no reason. Being a law, you know what I'm saying, the officer of the law, America's law supposedly. But yet, his own conscience, he know deep down he ain't held to nothing. That's why they do crazy stuff like that. He'll excuse himself. Like, I ain't held, and they could just kill you. He ain't held to nothing. They was told they weren't given a law, and they're a law unto themselves. That's why the Most High said, I'm gonna punish you, because you're the only family I knew of the earth. So that's why when you do something that's off, Most High gonna probably pay you back in 5 minutes for that. Next week, whatever you choose to. But next point, so that was interesting. So in other words, to break the point down, greater good has outweighed Esau's own self-interest. That kind of, if you can see the correlation, that kind of go into it just on a real keen, detailed level. Like, in the sense, it just told you Esau dealing with two different things right there. Like, he dealing with what he knows is right, because his conscience bear witness to it, but then he dealing with what something else. You know what I'm saying? In that instance, him not being held to anything. So that's why he said, greater good, you can kind of get an understanding, meaning for what he said, greater good has outweighed his own self-interest. Meaning, he even thought about, like, dang, that's probably, I know it's right, because the conversation is basically like, man, children, how do I deal with a child? I'm kind of going deeper on this than I kind of want to, but I'm trying to get you to understand what I'm saying, because I know it ain't clear. Exactly. I know it should be this way, but I'm not really held to nothing because I'm Esau, so I've been caught up in a bunch of other stuff. So in other words, him saying the greater good of other things is talking about the thoughts excusing one another. You know what I'm saying? Like, Forget the kid. I'm doing this. His own personal interest, for example, would be his kid. So that's where our conversation was kind of coming from. So it was a bunch of interesting things, man. Like, people got to remember these are adults that make these movies. So there's a lot of deep stuff in them. It says, it's only like 3 more here. It says, here we go. No amount of money has ever bought a second of time. You want to go into that? So it says, no amount of money has ever bought a second of time. That was just an interesting quote. That was something they said in the movie. I mean, right now I ain't really got too much to say about that, but that was super interesting when they heard it. No amount of money has ever bought a second of time. When he said that, it was during a certain point in the movie, after all the stuff we just went over, obviously. So it just shows that Esau recognizes his money can't affect history or time. He would outright have to go to the point of trying to build a time machine, or in other words, go back and destroy all of history. Other words, I just mentioned that earlier. Exactly. Buying time. That's
the correlation.
If you delete history, that's a sense of buying time. If you change in history, you're buying time. You know what I'm saying? One might find out you might be a damn pedophile, and you around a bunch of damn people, rich. Let's say they rich and they don't deal with that, but they allowed you to be amongst them, and you got amongst them. And only way they allow people around them is by background checking them. But you deleted all that crap, so you just bought time. You bought yourself time to be around them and to get a bag. You know what I'm saying? That's how Esau getting out. You gotta really go into this to understand. Like, this stuff is important to understand, because you under the oppression of this dude. These damn demons, these damn devils. Devil meaning deceiver. So that's how I understood. I found that interesting and understood that to be that. No amount of money has ever bought a second of time. But you got anything you want to say?
Yeah, also, the no amount of money ever bought a second of time also proves that you could do all of this and you still gonna have to pay it at the end of the day.
Right.
No matter how much damage you or whatever you're trying to do with the money to buy time, just like the Rockefeller reference.
Right.
One man bought 7 hearts.
Right.
And
exactly.
he's still gone.
Right.
So
yep.
It's only so far.
So did he really buy time?
Exactly. And through what? How much did he sacrifice to himself?
Yeah. That's a deep thought. We get to the next one. It says, did she have family? Yes, us. That was super interesting, because that's something we actually got to go into. I'm gonna leave that at something else, but I ain't gonna mention that. But did she have family? Yes, us. So when you in this truth, your family is the only people that's in this truth. Everybody else is not family. Period. That's what the Avengers just told you this. How the hell they gonna how are they gonna save the world dealing with somebody paying a damn phone bill, worrying about paying for Netflix? You know what I'm saying? They gotta worry about paying with their life to save the damn world. You know what I'm saying? So they only dealing amongst each other. So that was a super interesting quote. Did she have family? Not quote, but it was a conversation when what was her name? She got threw off when they went to Planet Vermont or whatever. She got threw off. She ended up having to die.
Widow, I think.
Yeah, her name was Widow. Whoever her name was, she ended up dying, or sacrificing herself so they can obtain the soul stone or whatever. And they came back and they ended up realizing, obviously their goals were separate because they all came together. You go grab this stone, I grab this stone. So they knew somebody was gonna have to die, because that's the only way you can get that stone. So it was just, obviously they made them mourn. It was in shock when, fake shock when they came back, and asked what happened to her. She was dead. You know what I'm saying? So they was just basically like, dang, that's so messed up. Because it ain't like it's Dragon Ball Z. Anybody familiar with Dragon Ball Z? Ain't no dang Dragon Balls they can go gather after gathering their stones to bring her back. You know what I'm saying? Necessarily. Even though the movie was bringing people back, it was resurrection in the movie. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, in a sense. And yeah, they asked, did she have family? And they was like, yes, us. You know? So once again, the Avengers represent the elect. When you in this truth, like they in that world, this whole world or whatever, temporary world that you watch for, what is it, movie like 2 hours, 30 minutes, 2 hour and 30-minute world, you know, they could be considered the elect in their world, and they, you know, are dealing with the truth, and they only dwell amongst each other, so that's why they consider each other family. So it's just that simple. You got anything you want to say on that? Because I know we tap each other at the same time. We got
No, that's just a strong fact. It go back to I forget. It's inside the Gospels. It's inside the Gospels.
Right. Yeah. You talking about when Howard Shaw was talking when they actually told him his mother and his brother wait for him?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a spirit. Yeah, when they somebody came and told Howard Shaw his mother.
They basically thought he was about to go run to go to his family, go to his mother and sister, or brother, whoever it was. And he was like, "This is my family."
Yeah.
So he was out doing his will.
Yeah, the Most High will. Yeah. So he not only that, he corrected them and said, "No, this is my mother and my brother." You know what I'm saying? So you got it twisted. In other words, they ain't out here doing his will. So he didn't even consider his mother, his brother, his brother. He said, this is my brother or my mother. He said, anybody who do the will of my father, that's the same as my mother and my brother. That's exactly what the scriptures, paraphrasing, says. You know what I'm saying? So it's really that simple, man, as far as that go. That's a great point you mentioned. So we got 4 more points and we be done. It says, Hulk is burnt up. This pretty much what was understood, the, I guess, inheritance of having these stones represent. And the stones going back to, you know what we were saying earlier. It says, Hulk is burnt up trying to yield the power of having the power of the stones. So once again, Hulk is burnt up trying to yield, he almost died. Hulk is burnt up trying to yield the power of having the power of the stones, only to show, like Thanos, none can yield this power of the stones, in essence, meaning except the rightful possessors. And that being in this movie, the stones, exactly, aren't in their rightful place, and ultimately have to be. So that's basically what it came down to, and that's basically End Game. It's basically a realization. You know what I'm saying? The End Game is basically a realization. Thanos realized that at the beginning of the movie, and then ultimately realized that at the end of the movie. Thanos was like, they came in and jumped Thanos. He didn't even have the stones no more. He was like, man, I did what I did, and them chicks had to go back where they had to go. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't a rightful possessor in essence. They was not given to him. The possessors in this movie will be where the hell they came from. But we tie that back to us and know those stones represents us, you know what I'm saying? As being the children of Israel. And basically all these things that come with this crave or this true power people know they exist can only be yielded by us. They kind of give you that understanding with the book of Eli. He was the only person that could yield it. Literally, because he was the only one blind too. So they made sure you knew that. Because he wasn't the only one blind, but he was the only one that was blind that had the book and could read it.
And they made that a point too, because they did show, in fact, another blind person.
Yeah. So it says, 3 more points. You mess with time, it tends to mess back. That was a quote. You mess with time, it tends to mess back. That's something dude said. He basically found out and realized. You mess with time, it tends to mess back. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of deep things that were said in this that I can't act like I can go into all of them, because a lot of things that's on here I wanted to personally go into. I was talking amongst each other about it. and maybe by the spirit we come back do a part 2 or something. So I'm gonna skip that one. It said, unless you wanna say something about with that one. It says in all years of conquest, this is something Thanos said. This was at the end of the movie. In all years of conquest, slaughter, and etc. So, and it says, remember once again, Thanos represented Esau, the mind of Esau, his damn spirit, or just his mentality, whatever. Esau, period. So it says, he said, in all years of conquest, slaughter. Who that sound like? That sounds just like him. You know? Just like Esau. So-called damn white man. You know what I'm saying? Etc. It says, so in other words, I broke down that to literally that moment broke down to outright say Thanos equals Esau / Edom / Adumius. Period. You know? That was really that powerful. And he said some more words than just that. He said in all his years of conquest, slaughter, this is what this man was doing. This is what this man was doing. That's what his whole his whole skill set, his whole lifestyle. You know, so if he ain't Esau, I don't know. I'm supposed to represent Esau. I don't know who he's supposed to represent. Last one. Why am I even tripping? Anyway, the end is gonna be what it's supposed to be. That's what Iron Man said. Tony Stark's. When he was dead, I guess he beforehand recorded himself because he obviously they planned he was gonna die. Because he was going to have to be the one as an option to yield the stone. And then obviously when you yield all the stones, you basically die. You know what I'm saying? So he said, why am I even tripping? Anyway, the end is going to be what it's supposed to. So, all in all, maybe take this. Yeah. All in all, that meaning to be what you want to say about that?
So also referring back to Infinity Wars, when Thanos looked at Tony Stark,
right,
and he told him, hold on, give me a second. He told him he was cursed with knowledge, or he told him he was cursed with seeing the future or knowing what's next or something like that.
Thanos was saying that from his perspective, that he was cursed for having knowledge. I think I know what you're talking about.
Thanos said that directly to Tony Stark, like, so basically it's going back to like the whole conversation of what Tony came to at the end to understand. Like he understood what had to be. Right. So all in all,
yeah.
The last movie, the Infinity Wars, Thanos told Iron Man, Tony Stark, that like him, because at the end of the day, Thanos got the same realization, saying that he understood that everything had to be as it is, as it could be. Like he couldn't really do anything with the stones. Right. And Tony Stark, at the end of this movie, knew he couldn't really do anything with anything at all. So I wish I had the direct quote. It'd help a lot more if it was direct.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. He's basically kept talking about how he was saying, this is my destiny, this is my destiny.
Exactly.
This is what my fate, this is what I gotta be. Yeah, and that's basically what he was saying with that quote. You know, he said, why am I even tripping? It ain't gonna be what it's supposed to be anyway. Mm-hmm. Once again, that's coming from a so-called Edomite. So, you know, that's an Edomite thought. That's what they realized. Edomite, Jake didn't make this movie. Esau made this movie. You know what I'm saying? They wrote those lines. You know? That's so that there's ultimately telling you right then and there what's going down. You know how they think it. They basically like, man, you know what? They're gonna take over anyway. They're gonna rule anyway. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's coming down to. That's basically what they said. It don't come down to nothing else. So, one more thing I want to mention too. At the end of the damn movie, this blew me. Like, this is the part that blew me. Captain America, when we was back in the, rewind a few minutes, some minutes in the video or whatever. Probably like 15, however long this video is, just rewind. But I said, we mentioned earlier that when he built the time travel machine, Captain America was supposed to come back in like 5 seconds, but he ended up skipping past his time stamp. And he ended up being old, so he came back, obviously telling you later than when he was supposed to. So he came back old. He was in a different spot than he was supposed to. Now, they had Jake walk up to this dude, and when he walked up to this dude, because he ain't the dude, that's the dude that played Tupac. He had no other role, so they had him do this. But I see now why they had him do this. So he walks over to him, and he ended up being Captain America. He was super old, and Captain America ended up pulling out his bag, his blade, and he ultimately ended up giving the damn blade to Jake. You know, telling him, like, basically, you're going to be Captain America now. So that there's two ways you could take that. You could take that disrespectfully, or you could take that as far as them telling you, like, the prophecy that's coming to pass. Like, yo, I know my time is up, even though we know we ain't gonna rule America, but America rules what? The world. So he's basically telling you, what is that? What scriptures? That's in the Apocrypha. He's telling you that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of the next, of the world that followed. That was Esau talking to Jacob. He literally wouldn't. Why would they put that in the movie? Like, why would they put that in the dang movie, dog? Captain America give his blade to a so-called black man. All right, Israelite. Jake. So that was interesting. So I hope this was edifying. And till next time, shalom. Man.